Funded by Source is the new podcast name. After 2 years of podcasting every week and interviewing almost 150 brilliant thinkers in the realms of creativity, entrepreneurship, and spirituality, I realized something that changed everything. And it's this idea that I used to think that spirituality and outer success are these two parallel lines that grow together simultaneously in the same direction. And what I know now is that none of these things are linear. If anything, they're circular, and sometimes one of the lines gets blurred and the ink gets washed away, and sometimes one of them gets lost and you're not even sure where you are and who you are and what you're doing. And in that spirit, the new name represents surrender. Surrender to this idea that there's an intelligence beyond us that has a better plan than what we can think with our conscious, logical minds. And that intelligence is tapped directly into our heart center, not the brain. And if there's the most important piece that I've learned from these years of interviewing and putting out content and teaching conscious social media to healers and conscious entrepreneurs, is that it's so important to stay in your own lane and trust the unique medicine that is here to come through you and no one else in the unique way that it's coming through you. It wants you to not just define, but also live what that success means to you. How do you know you're on the right path is the question. And it's pretty simple. It's this feeling of aliveness and feeling at home. It's one of the reasons why I call my channel At Home with Xenia, because it's this idea of feeling at home in your body, at home on your path, at home in your life, at home in what you do and how you express yourself. As my teacher Michelle Sine reminded me, that one of the most profound expressions of abundance is peace beyond money. It's this sense of peace and belonging. Not everyone is here to create multi-million-dollar online businesses or directly heal thousands of people, but every single person, no matter what you're doing, is contributing to this new world that we're co-creating with our hearts. And the purpose is not success, but the purpose is living in alignment with your truth and with what's calling you and with what's making you feel alive one step at a time. That goes from your morning beverage, whether that's a matcha or cacao or a cup of coffee, to the frequency of the content that you share online. And at the end of your life, it's not what you've accumulated or accomplished that will matter, but it's the depth of your presence and experience that you bring to every moment. So my invitation is to put a little pause on pushing with our brains for growth and scaling up and optimization, and surrendering to the natural magnetism that arises when you are uniquely yourself. And the whispers that guide us to where we're meant to be, they come in many forms, from a conversation with a stranger on a day when you weren't even supposed to take that road, to animals that come visit you and you look up the animal sign that it corresponds to. Thank you, hummingbirds, for always reminding me to share my voice. The one thing that's important to remember is that there's a grander plan at play. Here's a really cool example. The other day, after a super cathartic martial arts class, I was taking a shower and I was craving a certain song. I couldn't remember the name of the song, so I just asked Spotify to play my most recent playlist. June 2021, I make playlists every single month that represents my state of being and how I want to feel every day. And so I asked Spotify to play that playlist, and Spotify said, sorry, can't play June 2021. I'm just going to play, music from your Spotify. And guess what song starts playing? Fading Nights, which is exactly the sound that my heart was craving and was vibrating at the frequency of. So that is a very simple but very divine and beautiful and profound reminder that it's those simple moments like that that are a portal of access into the sacred that is always here for us, that is always guiding us, as long as we're willing to surrender what our brain is telling us and just be with what is and what's making us feel alive and what's calling us. Marianne Williamson, one of my favorite teachers, says that spiritual path is the journey of living your lives. And it seems so simple, but that is exactly it. It's how can we be those divine sparks and at the same time those embodied humans all at once. And the intention of me hosting this podcast and sharing my own stories and learnings, as well as interviewing other brilliant minds, is to remind you what you already know deep within, and to hold that space of curiosity, wonder, playfulness, exploration, courageous, unwavering trust, and honest communication, so that we can tap into what's calling us and into what's meant to come through us. It doesn't mean that once you catch that wave and that frequency that you have to go out and tell the world about it. But as a result of making this internal choice to live in this surrender space of trusting what's calling you, everything around you will change. And that's exactly what happened to me. And that's why I was called to change that podcast name. So what will you choose is my question. And will you listen to the whispers? And will you play with me in the unknown and the unpredictable? Every week, I'm going to be publishing conversations on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts, where you will have an opportunity to get a glimpse of what it's like to live in that space of creativity and play and trusting the unknown. You already know how to go there. And the podcast is just another way to sometimes shortcut it, but sometimes just to be reminded of that deep wisdom that's within you. And I have some epic interviews coming up. I have solo episodes coming up. So if this speaks to you, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts. If it moves you and if you feel called to share it with someone you care about that you know will get the depth of this, send it to them. And I will continue posting behind the scenes and kind of more raw footage of what's going on here on YouTube. Thank you for being here with me. My name is Ksenia. That's a little bit about Funded by Source, my podcast. If you feel called, go and check it out. Some of the episodes that inspired the podcast name change and are guiding where I'm going as an individual, as an entrepreneur, as a creative are episodes 145, 130, and 157. Have a magical day. Remember to listen to the whispers and trust what's already within you, because there's a whole cosmos and there's a whole universe within you. Thank you.